Hey guys, Delta here with Delta 4 Gaming on my main Kayamaro from Exceptional Legion on the server Anchorhead, bringing you my first impressions video of the new Warzone Novare Coast. I'm going to talk about things that I liked, things that I disliked, while I got some gameplay of myself playing solo in the background. So one of the things that I liked about Novare Coast is that you can see the whole battle, so it's easier to see where more help is needed more. Basically, what I'm saying is that if you're at the southern encampment, then you can look to either one of the northern ones to see, okay, hey, my team needs help here, or my team needs help over there, and you can really start to try to focus your efforts towards what needs help more, opposed to um, other war zones where you can't really see as much due to line of sight what's going on the other half, and that's especially like in Void Star or Alderaan, where you can't see the other doors or the other nodes as well, and you don't know what's going on. And if you're not on communications with your teammates, then you're pretty much at a loss because you're not going to know what's going on, and not everybody uses the ops chat to call for help, or sometimes you're busy and you're fighting three guys and you really don't want to take 2, 5, 10 seconds away from the battle to type need help over here, so which is something that at least chat macros would help with. Obviously, of course, they're not in game, but people can still do them out of game. One thing, the next thing that I liked about Novare Coast, the games are not nearly as one-sided. I know that with 1.2 they fixed, which I actually haven't played a Void Star that have ended this way yet, but they said they have fixed Void Star so that if you were defending and you didn't get past a certain door, and then you switch sides and then the attackers get past the door that you made it to, then the game is going to end, which is great because no one liked playing that drawn out where there was no coming back at that point. It's not like Alderaan where there is a slight chance that you can come back if you can manage the triple cap. It's very rare, but sometimes it happens. So, but games are not nearly as one-sided due to the fact that you have to have majority control of all of the objectives in order to gain points. So that means if majority control switches to the other side, then you immediately stop scoring, and then the other team does too. The other thing I liked about it was that multiple people can channel an objective, since it's not just like an 8-second channel or what have you. And it has that kind of progression bar, so multiple people can change it to get it to go more quickly. It makes strategizing and being communication with and having communication with your team a lot more important, because now you could say, hey, you two go channel the node, the rest of us are gonna hold off everybody back, so you can get captures more easily. And unfortunately, like in other ones, if you don't have that communication and you've got a bunch of people trying to plant the bomb on the door, nobody's helping any more than anybody else. You're all doing it, whereas one person should just plant and the other people should guard, and a lot of people don't seem to get that. And one thing that I hate in pug groups with the war zones is that you might clear out the area, think you're okay to go, and then 4 people jump on the node to start just immediately trying to capture it, and then nobody else says, hey, maybe I should back off and defend. That way I can help ensure that we'll actually plant the bomb or take the node instead of 4 of us on there, because one person comes in and uses an AoE, you're all done channeling and you immediately just lost that opportunity. Whereas one of those people, maybe 1, 2, 3 of the people of the 4 that were channeling came back off of the node, they could use their AoE stun or a single target stun or their 60-second stun or something, anything to get people away from the person who's actually trying to take the objective. Some of the things that I didn't like about Novare Coast, it's just too similar to Alderaan, Silver War, where you've got 3 node domination going on, and they basically just did Alderaan probably the way they should have done Alderaan originally, but I guess BioWare just didn't have the balls to say, this is what Alderaan should be more like, so here's a new Warzone. Now we've got a modified version of Alderaan with different rules. That's all we've got. Instead of having, having a score that gets deducted from by the number of cannons, meaning that as long as cannons are controlled from the beginning, because obviously they'll stay neutral until captured once, but once you capture them the first time, scores are immediately going to be constantly ticking down depending on who has control over more. You'll lose more points that way. That's obvious. I don't understand why they couldn't have just changed Alderaan to be like Novare Coast and then made Novare Coast its its own war zone. There's so many different types of different war zones, and and I think it's a tribute to BioWare that they came out with a war zone like Hutball, where it felt extremely unique. Yeah, it's single objective capture the flag, but it made a huge twist on what single objective capture the flag really meant. And I think that was a big step for PvP. But they could have done so many different other things. There are other games that have other game types that they could have drawn from, not a war zone that they've already done. Another thing I don't like about Novare Coast is there are 2 spawn exits. 2 reasons why I don't like that there are 2 spawn exits is, one, at the beginning of the game when you hope that all of your team is going to be throwing out buffs and getting ready to go out there, your team is essentially split, and a lot of people don't seem to have that communication or whatnot that says, hey, let's all buff up first, then we'll split. So what I do is I stand in the middle between the 2, buff, and then run to the door I'm going to go to. And I think at the beginning of this game I did have all the buffs required, but and I think that helps and I maybe that's not as big of a deal because people have legacy buffs and they can throw up multiple buffs at the same time, so you won't have to worry about it as much. Maybe it won't be an issue, but splitting your teams up like that at the beginning and having them come out as separate entrances is a problem for me. Also, mostly for the second reason is that if you go out it seems to me the way the terrain is based, at least on Republic side or supposed Republic side, depending on if you're doing the simulation mode where you can fight your own team. If you go out if you don't go out the north door, you go out the I guess for Republic side it's the east door. If you go out the east door, you can still drop off the rocks and get to your closer node to channel if needed. But if you go out the other door, you can't get back up to help your team if something goes wrong, or if you're running out and all of a sudden you hear the southern encampment has been taken. Well, now you're stuck down there, so now you have to run all the way around the terrain to get back up to that one, and you're at a much more disadvantage. I don't feel like that's as advantageous as maybe if you just had the path coming out of one door that's split to both of them. Maybe it's a balancing thing. Maybe with further gameplay I'll be able to say, hey, I know this is what I said in my first video, and coming back to it now I realized okay, yeah, I disagree with what I said before because of these reasons, but right now, based on first impressions, I don't really care for 2 spawn exits. The last thing that I disliked was partial nodes. I don't like that because then it's a little bit harder to determine who actually controls what, and I feel like it takes away more from having that feeling of, okay, we're capturing, someone comes in and AoE stuns, you lose all your progress. I think one of the biggest things about battling is that it's always easier to defend than it is to assault. And I feel like this partial node business takes away from that feeling of attacking is harder. I feel like attacking should be harder. It should be harder to take a node. you know, if the enemy team is defending and they're doing a good job defending, then they should be able to keep that node the way it is. But with the way it is with partial nodes, it's kind of like, oh well, the attacker will sneak in there and channel for a little bit, and then go back to the fight, and then channel a little bit, and it's kind of twisted in that way, and I don't care for that, and I really wish that it would just be like maybe a 10-second channel, and maybe they could do something where they could do multiple people channeling, but the more people you channel, um, increases the rate at which it goes per second. So instead of it being 1 second, then it channels 1.5 times as fast, or 2 people channeling is 2 times as fast, and then 3 people 2.5, or something like that, and then have like, maybe a 10 to 15 second channel time. So those are my first impressions of the new Warzone Novare Coast. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, leave them below for me, and I'll get back to you. Thanks for watching, and enjoy the last 20 seconds of the video.